Well, hi guys, Bill again. It's that time of year again. Now, Movember is a great event-driven campaign that's growing in popularity all across the world. There's a few links below to the Movember Foundation in North America, in Europe, and the Antipodes. There are others. Google's your friend. Now, the idea is a fairly simple one. Grow a moustache, raise awareness of men's health, try and raise some funds for men's health. Adam Garrone, the movement's founder, he came up with the idea over a few beers with his mates. Genius. First year they raised about 54,000 Australian dollars for prostate cancer. By 2010, that was up to about $81 million, and that was raised by 450,000 Mobros around the world. Now, that's pretty spectacular growth. Now, Mr. Garrone reckons that at this rate, the movement, the Movember Foundation, part of the movement, can raise enough funds to defeat prostate cancer inside of a decade. Now, that's a pretty bold claim, but the thing is with cancer research, it's funds that drive the efforts, and who knows, he might even be right. About 82% of the funds they raise go directly to charity, and the rest is used to run the foundation. Now, if you're looking at donating to a charity, that's a pretty good return. The money that's not directly going to charity or going to research is actually powering the growth of what's turned into a massive fundraising engine. But even if you don't feel like donating to the Mobros, see if you can't spare a few coins just for men's health generally. Now, I've left another couple of suggestions. They're for Brits, down in the links below. If you live elsewhere in the world, then please just pick an equivalent organisation. The point I'm making is it's not important which charity you donate to. It's donate to the charity. It's the shekels you throw their way that's the important thing, not what's in. Now, whether you want to be part of the Mobros effort or not, I'd still like to ask you to grow a tache, fellas. Partly that's to promote the notion that men's health matters too, but it's more about getting the Movember notion. The more that it grows in the public psyche, the better. It gives a clear indication to anyone with eyes of just how many of our usually very silent minority actually care about men's rights. Don't be embarrassed if you do decide to grow a tache. When somebody asks you a question, don't be embarrassed about sticking a little red pill tag onto the background of that. They're curious, so give them some food for thought. I'm not saying get into full-blown arguments with feminists in your workspace or whatever. Just point out some of what you think the more pressing men's rights issues are, and say that it's all part of, or point out that it's all part of the same thing to you. In terms of men's health, well, it's obvious. Men live shorter, less healthy lives. They're forced to work longer prior to retirement in spite of working or living shorter, less healthy lives. Men receive fewer resources and fewer services from government support agencies in spite of paying equally to them. And if you believe that feminist push about the 80 cents on the dollar, then men pay more for receiving less services. Men make up the majority of the homeless, and yet proportionally they receive less than females under identical circumstances. And they get much less spent on their health and much less popular coverage of their health issues, in spite of dying younger and having poorer survival rates from common illnesses. Now, I'm not sure if reading reports, especially EU reports, is your thing. If it is, there's a couple I'd like you to check out in the low bar. Now, it's worth noting, just cut straight to the annexes, it's worth noting how the hard data supports the facts that men live shorter, less healthy lives. Men are more prone to industrial accidents, men are more prone to suicide, men are more prone to suffering from chronic illnesses, and there is clear, undisputed evidence showing the kind of, or quantifying the kind of difficulties that young men have either in gaining further education or in finding gainful employment after any education that they do receive. It's also worth, once you've seen the data, going right back up to the introductions and taking note of the feminist tone that the writers adopt. There seems to be this underlying notion that if men just took a little bit more responsibility, and worked much closer with feminist groups, everything would be fine. Everything would be better all round. There isn't any data or quantifying how working closer with the very organisations which have stripped males of funding and support for decades now is actually supposed to help the situation. Now, policy is decided by politicians, and their vested interest is providing the public with the service that they demand. If we change public perceptions, it will change the demands that the policymakers are responding to. And it doesn't have to revolve around doublespeak and endless cultural rewrites. He said, she said, this used to happen. Doesn't matter. Keep the message simple. If feminists way back when had decided that they wanted to try and convince the world about patriarchy, they'd have been on a hiding to nothing. They'd still be dripping about how hard they've got it in some annex off the student union bar, But they went for equality instead, and it worked. But that's a two-edged sword. The entire Western world now holds equality as possibly the most important quality of life of all. If enough people can be made to realise that the genders are not being treated equally, either in terms of resources allocated or standing before the law, then the game's up for them. They've made the rod for their own back. Now, a gentle reminder that men have health issues too is a great start along that path. Enjoy Movember, peeps.